Shalom. This is Nizama Shahamada Bar Yasharah on my channel Nizama the Hebrew Mystic Healer. As always, before I get started with this video, I would like to show some love to my 3D kin, the 12 tribes of Israel scattered to the four corners of this third dimensional earth plane of existence. Much love and shalom to you. I would also like to show some love to my cosmic kin, scattered to the 12 dimensions of this universal egg matrix. Much love and shalom to you as well. And as always, show some appreciation to my viewers, especially those of you who are subscribed. If you're not yet subscribed, please do so now, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Also, if you like this video, give it a like. So I wanted to kind of do a video to address some things that have been on my mind. And I just recorded a video a couple minutes ago that ended up going in a different direction. So I want to cover this particular video, which was kind of the original direction I wanted to go in. So this is going to be another free flow video. Again, I'm kind of in that headspace today, and it's not my pattern or how I usually do things on my channel, but it's just, I do go with the flow when it comes to the information I put out. I try to be as organically as possible, so I'm also going to be as organic as possible with my deliverance and how I deliver the information today. So a few things that are on my mind I'm going to touch on. I'm going to touch on targeted individuals or TIs, and I'm also going to be having somebody that I'm going to interview on that topic coming to the channel soon. But I'm going to talk about that, how the government can target you in the 4D astral realm. I want to talk about government agents that may specifically target those of us who are from the Anunnaki bloodline and or reptilian bloodline. So I want to kind of put that out there. I'm going to explain what I mean by all this in a minute. And I kind of want to wrap it up with some other general energies that I've been picking up on lately. So I want to talk about the TI thing. What is a TI? TI is a targeted individual. What is a targeted individual? A targeted individual typically has to do with an individual that's literally targeted by the U.S. government. Now, when you hear about stuff like this, usually think of something like nut job, conspiracy theorist that's paranoid that thinks the government's watching them through their smoke detectors or something. That's not actually what I'm talking about. The government has technology now in the three-dimensional physical reality to pretty much watch us from wherever they want. Our smartphones, our smart TVs, our laptops, whatever tech you have, you name it, they can watch you through. So that's moot at this point, because now we already know that goes on, especially the way they're cracking down right now against people's rights around the world due to COVID and the so-called pandemic. So when it comes to a TI, like, how would you know if you're a TI? Basically, you'll know if you're a TI because you will find yourself flagged a lot. This can take place in 3D, so you might get flagged or have posts taken down on social media. When you try to fly or travel, you may find yourself literally flagged on your tickets. You may find yourself getting questioned by people that seem to walk up to you out of the blue, especially if they're wearing suits or they're wearing some kind of unmarked uniform. These are usually like FBI or CIA agents that'll come up. They won't always identify who they are. They'll just start asking you questions as though, they're, part of the TSA. You may, if your, psychic abilities are intact or your clairs are activated, you may feel or sense or see government agents remote viewing in your space. They might even project their consciousness in your space, almost like a teleportation of their consciousness, which is what happens with people remote view. So those of you who are sensitive, who have clairvoyancy and clairsentience especially, may pick up on this. You might also find yourself having nightmares of being kidnapped, of being abducted, of having experiments done on you, sleep paralysis, being, raped, things of that nature. These are all typically ways that you could tell if you're targeted as well. So I'm going to kind of share my own personal experience on this topic. And I'm also just going to put out there, this does have a lot to do with two things. Actually, three things. One has a lot to do with how against the grain you are as a person, how aware you are consciously. And a lot of times, like, these people will just become they'll become on the government radar because of algorithms that are on, social media especially, but even within technological devices, these algorithms will be able to sense certain distortions, or people that don't really fit within a certain spectrum, basically. So if your consciousness, you operate kind of outside the grain, you're going to be at least mildly observed. You may not be like targeted, but you'll at least be watched for a while until they can decide, to what extent you are a threat, if you're a threat. So that's kind of phase one, so to speak. And this can also go into, as I said, the more four-dimensional sense of the word. When you will experience this more when, you're asleep or you're dreaming. So the government does have 4D technology where they've hired, this has been going on for a while, where they hire people that can remote view, they hire people that have various different types of psychic abilities, and they actually use them on their staff, for their own agenda, their own purpose. So the type of technology that they have, a lot of times when you see an unidentified flying object, it's usually government. It's usually not like what I call EDs or extra dimensionals, because they typically will use more light-based Merkaba type chariots, just like what you see in the ancient texts. That's usually what they use. When you see metallic ships, you're usually dealing with government technology. And these same ships and the same type of technology transcends into 4D or fourth-dimensional astral realm. So they can actually attack you and abduct your astral body and put etheric implants in your etheric body as well. And so this is something that does happen. So an abduction doesn't have to be physical with your physical body. It can even be at a more energetic or a more psychic astral type connection. So for me, when I first started noticing this, I started noticing first that I was getting flagged for algorithms on Facebook. Then when my husband and I were traveling, and this really began because when we started labeling ourselves as Hebrew Israelites by blood, because that's our 3D bloodline. I'm from the tribe of Dan, he's from the tribe of Judah, and they're actually on a government watch list. They put them on a government watch list for terrorism, even though Hebrew Israelites they don't ever profess any kind of violence. They're not militarily organized, but because they're considered, and they put that word black in front of it, because they're considered a melanated group, or because they're unified and they're trying to go back to their own culture, they're considered a threat to the United States government. So I think that was the first part. And so both my husband and I were actually physically flagged when we tried to travel, to the point where my husband was actually followed by an FBI agent. He was questioned by a CIA agent at the airport. I was flagged physically on my ticket as well at a different occasion. And he was actually prevented from going into one of the countries we were trying to go into while we were traveling. So that is kind of stage 2. So the third thing that happened is I actually saw 3 men remote project their consciousness into the room. And this was actually after I started activating some of my higher chakras beyond my 1st through 7th main chakra points. Again, as I mentioned in some of my other videos, I've been Kundalini awakened for 7 years. That means I have activated and accessed all of my 7 main chakras, and I've risen my Kundalini or my primordial fire up through there and cleared that space, activating that level through my crown. And so when this happened, I was really starting to activate my soul star and my stellar star chakras. So these particular chakras give you a higher access into your higher self and your soul group connection. That's when you really start your full-on wake up to your cosmic blueprint. Well, these 3 men remote project themselves into the space. They were all wearing suits. They almost looked like clones. They were so alike, and they just said, "She's been activated." And I remember I just flipped them off and the remote project out. And around that same time that's when I started being able to see codes and food. I could see that they were actually creating matrix code, because everything has like coding and vibration and frequency, behind it. We live in a matrix system, literally. And so I was actually seeing which matrix codes were harmful to our bodies and which weren't. That was in the food. A lot of other stuff was happening, but I don't want to go there. We'll talk about that in another video. So basically that was like phase 3. So phase 4 was when I started actually getting attacked in the actual astral realm. Now, this is not the first time that I had been astrally abducted, but it was the first time I had started to remember it. Because when it was happening before, I was very young and I hadn't activated up to that level of activation within myself to be able to recall. Now, I hate to say this, but a lot of people could be being abducted in the astral realm and not even know that because they're not activated or aware enough to even remember. And there is an actual electromagnetic frequency that's released from cell towers that can put us in a hypnotic state, making it easier, making us more pliable even in the astral level. So we're not always going to remember. Even someone, like me and other spiritual people I know, other healers and psychics that, that are adept in astral projection, that have their clairs activated, we don't always lucid dream. We're not always astral projecting. And so we're not always going to remember. And so just because you don't remember, you don't have any memory of it, doesn't mean that there's other things that'll tip you off. If you get nosebleeds, if you have, sudden allergy issues, skin issues, if you feel like you all of a sudden get, strong aversions or strong draws to foods or certain activities you didn't have before, you may notice like a glitter material on your skin, which would be smart dust coming through your pores. That's an actual physical type of implant that can enter your body. Magellan's is another physical one, but it could be more etheric too, where you just notice maybe you're getting headaches, maybe you're getting pains, maybe you're getting movement, maybe you're just feeling off and you just know something's wrong. And as I said, people that are a little more psychically endowed, a little more aware, a little more activated will pick up on this much quicker. And what I teach on my Patreon channel is what I'm going to be teaching, I should say, because I don't have everything up there yet, is how to scan your body so that you can actually remove etheric implants and remove astral parasites that can attach while you're in the astral realm. So for me, I've run into government vehicle bodies that were being controlled. And so they looked kind of like the stereotypical gray aliens, except they were artificial. And the only difference being is they looked black and more robotic and plastic, and even their eyes looked glassy. And I could feel that somebody was like remote controlling them through their consciousness, because when they would attack me, I would try these different visualization techniques to figure out how to get out of it. So I would try brute strength, and one time I tried to create this golden sword and cut through the arms, and I actually felt someone go, ugh, like on the other side of it. And it was like I could sense this black screen. On the other side of this black screen, I could sense somebody was projecting their consciousness into this. So it was literally 4D dream Inception tech. Now, by the way, for those of you who have ever seen that movie, Inception, that is real. Like, there are agents that are trained to incept your dreams, and you can train your subconscious to fight back. So that's what I started doing. I started programming myself. And I want to give a quick shout out to somebody that actually has helped me quite a bit on my journey personally, dealing with being a TI. I want to give a shout out to Amy Denton. She's actually a Facebook friend of mine. She has a lot of experience in this area. She's also the one I'm going to be interviewing, so I just kind of want to throw that out, that she's the one that really helped me with a lot of this, give me some of the ideas, because she's had a lot of experience with this. So I was able to find out that that is what was going on, that these were being remote controlled. And so I started learning how to project my consciousness in. I started learning how to visualize different things, like visualizing fire, visualizing eating things, consuming things, lots of different types of visualization to kind of combat against this. Visualizing myself turning into light and teleporting. Another thing that would often happen to me is I would be put in a maze. I would be like teleported to a maze or teleported to other people's dreams. And so that was what was happening. So I started programming myself subconsciously. Before I would go to sleep, I would program myself to say, I do not give permission to my unconscious self, my subconscious self, or my astral self to participate in any activity that's going to cause me harm or cause someone else harm, that's not going to be for the highest good. So when I started doing that, and I also started setting the intention to only go into the higher astral realms and to only dream for the sake of working through shadow work and healing and ancestral healing and just working through things in that way, then everything kind of changed. Now, it didn't mean that they still didn't try to keep trying to trap me. I had to start playing EMF frequency disruption music, which kind of creates this white noise, which keeps you from going into a more hypnotic REM state. There was one other event that I feel like it's worth mentioning where I woke up in the astral realm out of a stupor. I woke up lucid dreaming, and I was in this kind of mechanical, like, ritual circle. Like it was like some sort of high 4D tech ritual circle, and I was in chains. And because in the past they had figured out that I would start to bite or consume the different beings or thought forms or vehicle bodies that they would send my way, they had some kind of plastic that was going over my mouth that kept forming and reforming. And so I would just, visualize myself pulling it off, even though I was in chains, just visualizing myself pulling it off, and it would just keep coming back on. And there were these beings, they're really small, and they were like vehicle body control beings that were just feeding off of my energy. So, the best way to deal with these types of attacks is to become as aware as possible so that you program yourself to wake up if it somehow happens while you're there. It's also important to shield before you go to bed, to set certain intentions, cloaking if necessary. I'm going to be going over a lot of this on my Patreon. Some of this I've already covered. So if you do feel that you might be a targeted individual, if you have memories of abductions, if you've dealt with that kind of stalking behavior either in 3D or in the astral realm, hit me up. I can do, a consultation. It's a free consultation for spirit releasement where I can check for implants and spirit attachments. Definitely, reach out to me. I've had some people who I believe could be government agents reaching out to me asking very specific, suspicious questions about, the Anunnaki. I've had people basically trying to get very specific information about the return. I'm just going to say this. I can't say with 100% assurity if, I just get feelings about certain things. Something can just feel off and I'll sense that it's off, but it really doesn't matter whether someone's an agent or not. If somebody comes up to you and they're asking really personal questions about your ancestry, about your star family, or your physical family, if they're asking like, when is this going to happen? When is that going to happen? Then, that's, especially if you don't know that person, you want to be really cautious about that. Now, I want to quickly touch on why they target the Anunnaki starseeds who are in the Nibiru avatars or the Hebrew avatars. Doesn't have to be Hebrew Israelite, can also be Hebrew Edomite. But they like to do this because, honestly, the Anunnaki are here and more are coming, and they're going to destroy the powers that be, and they're going to burn this motherfucker down, for lack of a better word of putting it. And this is all in preparation for the transition to the new earth. That can't happen with these wicked ass regressive families running things. And so they know that they're going to be attacking. They don't know exactly when, where, or how. They just think that they have a chance. And so they're trying to get as much information as they can, and they're trying to do that by doing experiments. They think if they can get a hold of the, of the people that are the hybrids, the descendants of those beings, that they experiment on them, that they can find some weaknesses and they can know how to fight against them. They think that if they can manipulate them into telling them information, that they have a fighting chance, which they don't. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to cover that, what a TI is, some basic ways that you can tell whether or not you are a TI, how to kind of deal with and protect yourself from that. Aside from shielding and programming your subconscious, you can play EMF, disruption music. If you feel you might have etheric implants or attachments, you can scan yourself and remove those etherically. If you feel you might have physical ones, like you feel you might have smart dust or an actual physical metal implant, or you feel you have Magellans or anything like that, definitely try to see somebody that you trust as a doctor that might be able to x-ray that. If it's like a real metallic implant, make sure it's somebody that you can trust, though. Don't just go to any hospital. And also, if it's Magellans or if it's smart dust, you can also do like long-term water fasts and take baths with like Epsom salt, baking soda, things like that. I am going to be sharing a lot of stuff on Patreon that's going to help with a lot of this, a lot of overlapping information and techniques here, so definitely check that out. I'm leaving a link to that and my Facebook business page for doing akashic record readings and healings if anyone's interested in that. Make sure to check the date of this video, but if you are watching this video and I just now uploaded it, please keep in mind that I'm not doing spirit releasement consultations or appointments or Reiki healing for another couple weeks, because I'm actually doing some healing on myself right now, but I am still offering the retro cosmic akashic record readings. We can still book appointments way in advance if you're interested in that, and you can still check on Patreon. So I hope you guys found this video to be informative. If so, give it a like. And I hope you guys have a good day. Take care. Stay tuned. More is coming. Shalom.